If you're looking to move out of your parents' place, you could really cut expenses by bundling your car and renter's insurance with Progressive, which is good because your little brother has gotten really territorial. You're blood related. You'd think it would be fine to share food in the fridge. I mean, who writes their name on every individually wrapped slice of cheese, Tyler? Still, you've got to admire the commitment. So bundle your renter's and car insurance with Progressive and use the savings to help you move out and have all the cheese you want. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company. Coverage provided and serviced by affiliates and third-party insurers.
Lowe's always has more ways for you to save. On top of our everyday low prices, pros can save big when buying in bulk. Or if your purchase is over $1,500, that's to learn more and start saving. Offer subject to change and may not be available in all Lowe's stores.
Down the bitch gang. Yikes. 5 on the floor, ride for my dogs. Where here's the thing, you can check the score. Hustle hard, couple scars, wearing rubber frauds. Just like Butler said, you in trouble, y'all. Kept the floor playing, got it all banned. Y'all seen the block, stop with one hand. And Pat, we trust, it's power, have the guts. We're here to bring the heat, y'all can hang it up.
Welcome to 5 on the Floor, a daily insider show on the Miami Heat and the NBA, featuring Ethan Skolnick, Greg Sylvander, and Alex Toledo, plus others from the 5 Reasons Sports Network.
Welcome back to another episode of 5 on the Floor Live. I am your host, Greg Sylvander. Tonight's floor plan with me, Sean Rochester. We were on Playback. We watched the entire game. You can follow him at S Rochester NBA. We're going to quickly recap this absolutely heartbreaking defeat to the New York Knicks. The Miami Heat lose at home. They've lost 6 of 7. Things are trending in a really bad direction. And so we're going to unpack this game, talk about a little bit of, I think, what was a spirited effort in the second half, but ultimately comes up short, and maybe the implications looking forward as they have to get right back out and do it again tomorrow. And I don't know how they're going to even be able to embrace that. Before we get into that, though, want to shout out the sponsor of our post-game live 5 on the Floor shows, and that is A-Aggressive Insurance, insurancebyLynette.com. They Lynette leads a crew of an insurance broker agency that's been servicing South Florida for over 15 years. Auto insurance, homeowners, condo, life insurance, retirement programs, free notary service to all clients. They represent all the leading insurance carriers in South Florida. If you have a bad driving record, no problem at all. No driver is refused. Free phone quotes. InsurancebyLynette.com. That's with 2 N's, 2 T's. InsurancebyLynette.com. 954-581-8800. A-Aggressive Insurance, 954-581-8800. So, Sean, we've been here before, but man, this one was crazy because they looked like they were done. That first half, they were cooked. It was over. The season. They just, Bam was not making rotations and finishing plays. It looked like everyone was dejected to a point of no return. They come out and they play really big in the second half. There is a lot of good, positive things that happen. Tyler Hero showed up in the second half. If you look at his stat line tonight, you cannot tell me that he did not show up, but still, as Ethan Skolnick has said on this program, they lose by 2. Julius Randle's absolutely insane night, 8 of 13 from 3, 43 points in 35 minutes, 16 of 25 from the field. Sean, your initial takeaways from an absolutely gut-wrenching loss, just the raw fan part of it, but also the X's and O's, schizophrenic nature of this game. I'm interested at your perspective. We've talked a lot tonight, but the floor is yours now.
Yeah, I mean, we've been around each other the whole game on Playback, so definitely check that out. It's a different way to watch a game with us joining in the conversation. It was a cool environment tonight. First half was not a cool environment. It was ugly. It was bad basketball. The Heat's defense was terrible. Their offense started okay and then just plummeted. And then the offense started to kind of compromise their defense. And we talked, myself and you and Alex, about just like the style, the multiple efforts, the things that you kind of know Heat teams for, and just it wasn't there. And I don't know what happened at halftime. We'll hopefully hear about some great speech or whatever, but they came out different. They played only 8 guys. I don't think Max Strus played a minute in the second half. They adjusted the matchups with who was guarding Randle, who was guarding, how they were defending. And then offensively, they finally got Tyler Hero going. And Jimmy obviously was excellent, but Tyler was great after kind of a rough start. And unfortunately, like you said, it just came down to a terrible shot. Just a broken play, grabbed it, threw it up, and went in. So it's just a tough way to lose.
Tough way to lose is an understatement, because they got back in the game in a way that made you feel like, holy crap, maybe they finally like said to themselves, like, you look yourself in the mirror one last time and you give it all you got, and they got back in the game. And there was so many positive moments from so many different guys. Jimmy Butler came through in really big ways. Even Kevin Love had good moments. I know that the inbounds there at the end feels unforgivable in the moment. He looked pretty remorseful about that entire situation, that they didn't even get an attempt up. But let's kind of rewind back for a moment to the first half, because I think it's prudent to talk about like what the hell is wrong with this group, where they get in these situations where they look so sluggish and they look so bad. I know that we're not going to talk about the answers to it, but I just think that then when you see the completely different approach to the second half, you wonder why they can't channel that more often. And tonight, what do they shoot from three? They shoot 48% from three. I think that helps a ton. That has to be a big second half trend. The bench in particular, Sean, Caleb Martin started to find a groove. Victor Oladipo even hit a couple good shots, although there's a lot of moments I don't love of his. What are your thoughts on the way that he handled the bench and then went away from the non-Jimmy and Bam minutes in the second half to kind of try to spearhead this thing and get it close?
Yeah, I mean, and that's obviously been a topic that a lot of people have talked about. It's been so negative. In the first half, it was kind of the momentum swing that put it in the Knicks' favor. I think going to 8 in the second half was smart. I think that, Strus, although single game plus minus is not the best stat to use, was the team worst, minus 15. He was not making his shots. He wasn't doing great on defense like usual, and they went away from him. And, you talked about the three guys that did play the bulk of the bench minutes. Caleb Martin, his attacking in the second half, I felt like he was much more decisive, getting in the lane. He had that crazy almost poster dunk over their big man. So, Zeller's energy was there. He's never going to show up huge in the box score, but just his energy. And then Depot in the second half, making a couple shots, playing pretty good defense on the ball. But, Jalen Brunson, he's just a good player. And sometimes between him and Randle, when they get rolling, it's hard to stop them. So I think the bench unit was good enough in the second half, but early on, it's back to that, if it's not Jimmy, if it's not Bam, then what are we doing next? And unfortunately, we got it fixed, but not fixed enough.
I know, 70-point first half. Julius Randle was unconscious from the get-go. Some of the stuff with the defense getting so ugly, the half-court defense even in this game, transition defense, the leaking out of guys and getting just layups. It was parading to the rim. And then you see this disposition change in the second half. To me, like that Jekyll and Hyde element of this team is just so unfortunate, because you would think that it's a team that knows each other enough to build an identity by this point, and you haven't seen it. I think the non-Butler minutes are getting the non-Jimmy minutes on offense really get weird. And for Tyler to get that steal, get that scoop, and then go up one, and you're feeling really good about the way they responded to this, and then to get your heart ripped out with that Julius Randle shot. I just don't know how you go back out on the court tomorrow and make that happen. I want to talk about the approach for tomorrow, because we're going to do final thoughts on the Knicks matchup and then talk about how you approach tomorrow, because it's such a gut-wrenching way to go down, and you've been trending downwards for so long. But before we do, want to tell you about another great sponsor of the 5 Reasons Sports Network, and that is ODM PSI. Team building is hard, but they'll get it done for you, and they can help you with staffing. They can get you important roles for your company, particularly in roles like banking. They can help you get involved with the right people, get you hooked up for C-suite level leadership, sales positions, management position, operational support staff positions, but particularly in the world of banking and I eat nursing as well. odmpsi.com. Give them a call, 954-434-0634. The ODMP performance solution of the night. I'm going to tell you in a minute after I say odmpsi.com one more time, 954-434-0634. Reach out to them.
Some folks don't stop searching till they find the truth. If you've got a detective's eye, June's Journey is the game for you. Play as June Parker in a gripping murder mystery as you find hidden objects to help solve her sister's death. You'll hunt for clues in hundreds of beautifully illustrated scenes set in the roaring 20s. New chapters are added weekly. Find your first clue by downloading June's Journey today. Available on Android and iOS mobile devices as well as on PC through Facebook Games.
The Jeep Grand Cherokee 4xE. It's electrified.
Boogie, woogie, woogie.
So you can boogie woogie woogie into the forest. Boogie woogie woogie through the mud. Or boogie woogie woogie to work, where you boogie woogie woogie down the hall to your boss's office to tell him you quit.
Sure got the boogie.
Then you boogie woogie woogie to the elevator as he boogie woogie woogies after you, begging, please, take me with you.
Boogie.
The electrified Jeep Grand Cherokee 4xE. Learn more at Jeep.com. Jeep is a registered trademark of FCA US LLC.
Being a human is hard, especially if you're a woman who's having trouble doing that totally normal thing all humans do, but not all of us like to talk about. You know, pooping. Thankfully, Garden of Life's doctor-formulated women's probiotics contain 40 billion probiotics to help you be a more regular human. Garden of Life. Visit gardenoflife.com/poop to learn more. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
The performance solution for me is that Tyler Hero responded in this second half. Jimmy Butler played really well. And that was a really strong statement for me because it looked like this was about to become a game where they just put their tail between their legs and went away. I think that there can no longer be, as we talk about solutions moving forward, I don't think you can have minutes on the floor anymore without one of Jimmy or Bam being on the court at all times. Sean, am I crazy to now on March the 3rd, going into March the 4th when they play the Atlanta Hawks? Am I crazy for now saying you cannot have 1 second of the game that doesn't include either one of Bam or Jimmy?
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be like in the second half when they went to an 8-man rotation. You can spread the minutes and adjust the lineup so that one of them is always on the floor. Obviously, and we talked about this in Playback, Greg. I think you made a great point. Like having Kyle back in some sort of role can help fill that gap. It's not going to be Jimmy and Bam if you put Kyle on the floor, but he can help. And you think about last year, the stuff that he did with those injured lineups, kind of the bench lineups, those random guys, he led them. That's what he can do if he will come back. And I know there's probably a lot of speculation and probably a lot of doubt, understandably, that he's ever going to come back. So I might be calling something that might not happen. But to your point, Jimmy and Bam, you got to have one of them on the floor. You cannot get away with even a couple minutes, even 4 or 2 minutes. And it's just got to be the way for these last, 20 games.
And so to that point about how they get, so I appreciate you pulling up this comment, Manny. So shout out to Mr. I believe I can't say Algerian Fresco. Hopefully I'm saying your name correctly. I'm doing my best. Don't forget the wrong call, foot on the line by Tyler. That is a really good point. The fact that was missed, that's going to keep me up at night, at least a little bit here. It's good that they're playing tomorrow because I think that part of this, you get right back out there. But frankly, you saw what Atlanta did tonight. DeJounte Murray had 41. Atlanta was also, although they don't have necessarily the same guards that can put the same type of pressure that they did last season. I'll be interested to see how they handle Trae Young and Tyler Hero. But how do you come back emotionally from that? Like if you had your heart ripped out in that fashion, is it as easy as you kind of just say, everybody, let's work and get back out there? And it's just basically like the sports element of just getting to the next moment. Or do you think that there are things emotionally that transfer over game to game?
Yeah, I think getting back on the floor quickly, in the case tomorrow, having a game is great because you can move forward very fast. Like even at this point of the season with, 20 games left, let's say, it's not like if we had 2 days off before our next game that tomorrow getting in the practice, is that going to fix it? No, they probably give them the day off because it's so tough and it was a physical game. There's not like X and O solution at this point. It's an emotional thing. And, we talked with Alex about in the second half or at halftime when we were feeling kind of depressed, we were like, let's just give something positive, let's just get back in the game and at least we have something to carry into tomorrow. Well, when you do that, achieve that, and then you get your heart torn out on a crazy shot at the end, it almost works in the wrong way, because now you saw what you're capable of, got back, got the momentum, got basically the lead, the win, and then boom, it's taken away on a crazy shot. So I think he'll respond tomorrow. If they don't, not to read into it too much, but it's starting to, when they're showing you who they are, believe them. That's where I think you got to start taking that in mind.
Well, and then also they'd have to spend Sunday with the excruciating loss to Atlanta if they were to lose and then play Atlanta again. That just gets weird. I'll be interested to see the injury report for tomorrow. Kevin Love appeared to have sustained something along the way there. It didn't mean that he couldn't play necessarily, obviously, because he was in at the end. But be interested to see how he wakes up and feels after getting stepped on. And then also, Caleb and Jimmy had questionable tags most of today and then ended up finally playing. Who knows how that's managed on a back-to-back scenario. So lots to look out for there. Thank you all for joining us. We're doing a quick wrap here. We encourage everyone to come check us out on Playback. So we're doing these watch parties where we watch the game. You can come there with us. Frankly, it's been a really nice break from following the game on social media while watching on television for me, because we really kind of just focus on the game. It's not the toxic takes about next week or about next offseason. So we encourage you to come hang out. You can even come up on stage and give your takes. So check out Playback TV. We have it all posted everywhere. I've been retweeting it everywhere. So if you're on Twitter, you can find it. Sean, any final thoughts on this Knicks game or the Hawks game before we close?
No, I think just showing up tomorrow, show, are you still invested? Do you still believe? And, you got to get a win. We almost have to go 4-0 or 3-1 in the next set of games, these back-to-back type things. So it's tough. They fought back. They were so close. The win they needed, the most important win of the season, basically, unfortunately. And props to Julius Randle because it was a hell of a shot.
It really was. And as I look here on Prize Picks, it looks like Bam Adebayo finished with 18, and I got his number at 18.5, and then it went down to 17.5. So I think a lot of you out there who probably put your bets in closer to game time got a better number than me, and he went over, whereas for me, he did not. But check out Prize Picks because it's a lot of fun to play like that. Use the code 5 FIVE to get your initial deposit matched up to $100. It is the most fun daily fantasy platform out there. Everybody's playing it these days. It's daily fantasy simplified. You pick your favorite players, favorite stats, but you got to use the code 5 to get your initial deposit matched up to $100. So make sure to do that. So let's take a couple questions, Manny. Throw a couple up here. Anybody who has any questions for us, what changed at halftime? Tony Morales, shout out to you for the question. I think that it had a lot to do with an energy level and a level of focus and attention to detail. And then also shots started to fall. Sometimes you need relief buckets, and I think they got some of those. Sean, what did you see in the second half specifically that maybe spearheaded some of that as we close here? We're going to take maybe 2-3 more questions.
Yeah, it seemed like, and you mentioned shot making, that it's as simple as that sometimes. Like we were just making shots that we were missing. We were getting good looks in the first half that we were missing. But there were so many times in the first half that our offense was so poor that it compromised our defense. We were constantly in defensive transition. And in the second half, partly I think because of effort and partly because of being able to have competent offense, you were less times in transition. And I know I looked at it late and I mentioned to you and Alex, their half-court offensive rating was better than the Knicks by the end of the game. So if you take away that transition, the turnovers and things like that, that's the game right there. I mean, I think shortening the rotation helped, but yeah, it was good. I mean, you can't fault. I mean, I guess you can fault Spo for some things too, but you can't fault him in the second half. He brought the team to play, and they almost got a win.
Reef Maestro, shout out to you. He is abroad right now, and he's a loyal listener, viewer, and interactor with the show and on Twitter. And he's been up abroad watching this game at 3 and 4 a.m. So shout out to him. He asks, could Highsmith help us in these scrappy games? I think that there's something to be said about that, but I just think at this point you are at a place where you can't play more than 9, and I don't see where he slots in now that they're doing this Cody Zeller, Kevin Love thing. But I do think situationally it could make sense, especially if you're missing, like if Caleb doesn't play, Haywood Highsmith is in, and there's no question about it. Sean, am I right about that? Is there any other scenario where you see Highsmith being a better option than any of the guys, the 9 that are kind of set right now?
No, and especially now that you have Zeller that's been pretty solid in his role. Those minutes just aren't available when you go small and put Haywood in there. But I agree, if Caleb was out, he can fill that role. Not as good, but he can do the defensive stuff especially. And, against certain teams, like I don't think you can put him on Julius Randle. I mean, he's just a bear. So, when you play those long, lanky wings like Jason Tatum, you can throw Highsmith out there and he can give you some minutes.
All right, let's take one more, Manny, and then we're going to get out of here. Thank you for everyone who joins us. If it's a quick answer, we can even get to one more. How was Randall elbowing Bam not called? I don't know, but, sometimes late in those Heat Knicks games, I kind of want the whistle to get buried a little bit. So I don't hate some of that physical stuff, but I do think he definitely got hit right in the face, and that was pretty clear. And so that kind of stuff, I think that they should have looked to clean up and they didn't, but also in a physical game, Heat Knicks, what are we doing? I can't get too nitpicky there. One more, just because I feel like we're getting right to the 20-minute mark. Manny,
Greg, what do you think about the timeout, the lack of timeout at the end? Like with the Love play where you drop the sideline out of bounds, you didn't have an option. You could tell he was kind of trying to throw it inside, and someone can use a timeout. It doesn't have to be Love. So, you end up with a turnover, but it just really seems like an odd decision.
Yeah. The fact that nobody would run up to the scores table or Spoelstra or whatever could call a timeout if they had one. Did they have one? Do you confirm that?
I'm about 100% positive that they had one. And think about, like, Love, obviously he gives you size. He's a good passer, but he's brand new to the team. And I not that they run like, a set play that they've been putting in since November, but it just seems odd. And I remember back to a couple weeks ago, or I guess a month ago, like Lowry putting the ball in and Gabe Vincent bringing the ball in. Now you have a bigger guy in there, and sometimes it doesn't matter. He had to make a decision. He made the wrong one. And it's confirmed that they had a timeout. So tough play. A couple bad calls.
You asked me my thoughts. We're going to close with my thoughts there. That was a disaster. And when a disaster strikes in your home or business, call water cleanup of Florida. No, I'm not about to read another ad on y'all. Thank you for joining us. We will have you covered tomorrow for Heat Hawks, 5 on the Floor live, Playback, all the programming across the network, YouTube, Twitter Spaces. So come hang out with all of us as we try to get through this regular season that has not been easy, but we will have you covered throughout. Thank you for joining us. Good night.
Thank you for listening to the 5 on the Floor on the 5 Regional Sports Network.
Help your small business thrive and stay connected with the Comcast Business Complete Connectivity Solution. It's the largest, fastest, reliable network. Advanced gig speed Wi-Fi and cyber threat protection in one solution. Plus, when you add Comcast Business Mobile, you can save up to 60% a year on your wireless bill. Comcast Business, powering possibilities.
Restrictions apply. Actual speeds vary. Gig Wi-Fi requires gig internet. Mobile savings compares pricing of top 3 carriers. Comcast Business Internet required.
Look at you, stepping out of your hotel and following your nose around the corner to pick up some...
Bom dia. Queria pedir pastel de nata.
Portuguese. When you're exploring a new side of yourself, that's when you're with Amex. American Express. Don't live life without it.